right, fellas, so I just want to take a minute to stop and tell you why this 10 by 12 pond has pretty much turned into about double that size. So we've had some really good ideas here that'll create a lot more work for us later. And what we have on this spot over here, we set, we had our initial dig, as you guys saw previously, before we just did that one. But we set these boulders in here and we got to thinking, because we do have a lot of large stone on this project. I can't help myself when picking these things because the beauty of the rock speaks to me. And as long as I think we can move them, they generally arrive and we figure out whether we can or not. So far, so good. But what we ended up doing, we had talked about the initial and the extra aquatic plantings that we were doing in this because they can't keep land plants alive. We got to get as many aquatics in this thing as we can. So we got the bigger liner so that we could shape and shelf out and have a little bit of artistic freedom and have some spots where we can excavate extra for the aquatics, which is exactly what we had done in the spot that I am standing. So our initial dig following this curved line right here, that was done. We slapped these rocks in here and we're like, all right, first excavation's going on. So we marked out with our additional liner back in here so that we can sink our boulders back into these recessements that we have carved into the ground, and we can actually have a strip of aquatic planting gravel in between that is nice, deep gravel behind this row of boulders. We've got 12 inches of water in this spot, so we'll be able to rock up some extra stuff and get different types of aquatic plants in here as well. But not only is this going to dramatically change the shape of the outside of the pond, which is awesome for the artistic look of this thing, it's going to create so many different spots where we can tuck little aquatic plants in front of these boulders and then have the water that's cresting over top of all these rocks and everything in here really going to make the greenery on this thing pop. And that is what we are going for, guys. So taking the time, having the extra material to break out the artistic shape and get rid of all the curved stuff that is going on in there and give some awesome shape and spots for the aquatic plants is really what we're going for. So we pretty much have maxed out our liner, which happens every time. However big of a liner we get, we seem to run out every time. So it's probably my fault that this 10 by 12, 120 square foot pond is already about 17 feet wide instead of 10. So we're gonna end up with a lot more than we bargained for. right, so we just came back after a long weekend that we had, and everything was running beautifully when we left. What we found when we came back is we actually had a bad batch of foam. And what I mean by that is when we showed up today, there was a little bit of water going over the main falls, and there was no water going over the secondary falls. So what actually happened is we did this foam seal in here to create these separate waterfalls and have everything going the way we wanted, and then it somehow shrank over the course of the weekend, and it separated from the rocks almost an entire ½ inch all the way around. So instead of having these beautiful waterfalls all weekend, kind of was like good waterfalls, next day it's getting a little calmer, down to one baby little waterfall. So instead of having a 2 or 3 hour day today coming doing some cleanup, first thing we did was tear the whole stream apart, get all the gravel out, all the aquatic plants out of there, clean everything back off, blow dry all of the water with the heat gun out of there to get back to a dry scenario to where we could refoam with our new foam cans. So lesson to be learned there, I reckon, is you just never know what to expect. Anything can happen. You can think you're right at the end of the finish line, and then boom, your foam decides to shrink instead of expand. Weird things, but yeah, we're finally finished. All right, so there we have it, guys. This is our initial 10 by 12 pond. I think it ended up being a little closer to probably like 13 by 14, somewhere in there. We did go to the entire limits of all of our materials on this job. And when I say limits, I mean limits. Limits, like so close that when we filled up the pond, it's like this close in one little spot to actually leaking, and we had to do some adjustments because we just kept pushing our boundaries because we wanted to fill this space. It is a habit, guys, trying to make this as beautiful as possible and accomplish every single goal that we had set out for this thing, because there's a lot that we had to. You've got the viewing area from the top. You've got the viewing areas over here from where they watch their football and all of that stuff. And we are gearing these waterfalls towards opposite kind of directions where everything is heading, and trying to integrate a lower patio that is already existing into this circle of the driveway that's just been bare rocks for who knows how long. It's been a long time. But coming in here with these stairs was, I think, one of the greatest things to integrate you up to your interaction stone. The team pulled that one off. I had nothing to do with it. Swear to God, didn't do anything on there. But the canvas we had to work with for this pond turned out to be absolutely beautiful. Tearing out all that rock, getting back down to a blank slate, and seeing what we actually had to work with, going up to the mountains and picking the boulders, knowing what we were going to be building in there. And we used all but like 4 rocks on this project. That's tight. That's real tight to the limits of our materials. We want this to be the most pleasant experience possible, and man, this thing has turned out to be absolutely amazing. So you guys tell me what you think in the comments down there. You love it, you hate it, who knows? I'm out for now. You guys stay tuned.